it's a fun place to work. So now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Kyle Coble, who's going to talk about how he uses some of these values to make good feed.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks, Dr. Turner. As he alluded to about the values, as we go through the next segments, I'm going to talk about two of the values that resonate with our team the most. But one of the things that I wanted to share with you today is when I came to JBS in 2018, and Dr. Turner gave me a unique opportunity to be a part of one of the last integrators to internalize nutrition. I was pretty naive to think that I was just going to have this huge splash in a big company. But in reality, the company had a big splash with me, and these values, they've helped me in my professional life, but they've also helped me in my personal life as well. And I appreciate Dr. Turner for giving me that opportunity of a lifetime. So as we talk through the nutrition department, right feed, right place, right time, I know a lot of you in the nutrition world have heard that phrase very often, but we take that to heart. You'll see that posted on emails. You'll see that posted in all the feed mills and the feed desk. And we grade ourselves on that essentially real time through our system. But as we get into the values specifically, I'm going to talk about ownership and simplicity this morning. As we talk about ownership, it's being committed to our results, focused on the details, and really taking responsibilities for all of our actions. Those are good and bad. So we try to own the basics every day, blocking and tackling when it comes to feed. We can definitely feed a lot of different additives and some of those things, but we got to get the big picture right. And we look at owning things like ingredient loading accuracy, the cost of our ingredients and our implements, the manufacturing quality and our cost, delivery accuracy and efficiency, and then getting that back to the in-field application. So I just have a couple of pictures up here to share with you what that kind of means. And the first one up in the upper, your right-hand corner, is our feed accuracy opportunity cost. And that's really our measure of how well we're executing both getting feed to the right pigs, making sure that we're not underfeeding or overfeeding on a budget, and making sure that we're following through that. And we set those parameters every year, and we set for a goal. And this is in real time showing what we're looking like for this year. And then also we have our late feed deliveries. So, you know, as technology allows us to move into a different type of sphere of influence within production, we can now look at our late feed deliveries. And we report this every Tuesday morning to the entire team, so they know how good or how bad that we're doing. We don't hide those results. We share those. We try to practice that ownership value. The other way that we look at this ownership is we own the responsibility of research-based production and technical services. We feel that that's a huge responsibility to take on. It's an important one, though. And we look at that through 15 to 20 research projects a year. We look at nutrition, vet health, production, meat science, really kind of anything that can have an impact in an integrated system. And we do this through multiple partners. So we work with several universities like Kansas State, University of Arkansas, Iowa State University, Oklahoma State, and really work to be a center for technological advances within our system. And then we look at that from an integrated farm to fork kind of perspective. So it can start from a genetic evaluation in Dalhart, Texas, and end with a cut test that might be in Ken Prush's lab at Iowa State. And then we also want to make sure that we're communicating that, and we're going to own the responsibility to make sure that we're sharing those results with our team, but also educating them on what those results mean to our business. So I don't expect you to read the p-values on here, Dr. Dreetz, that are in the corner, but this is just an example of a one-page summary that would go out to our production staff that's going to give them the highlights, so the performance metrics, the cost, and then what's the take-home message? What do we really want those folks to understand from this? And then the last one from the ownership is kind of leading off of that education piece, is we own the development of our team. And I think that that's a really important thing that I've really become appreciative of JBS, is not only do they want us to do this, but they expect us to do this, and they allow us the flexibility to become creative in this avenue. And this is a program that we started with Kansas State University that's actually a CE accredited course for every employee really in our business, but it's tailored to our feed mill employees. Those of you that are in the milling operations, you know that that area of the business over the last several decades has had less kind of educated workforce coming into that segment of the business. And so we have to take the initiative to really home grow our talent. So we put this class together, and we have courses in manufacturing, ingredient quality, preventative maintenance, swine nutrition, a bunch of different things. And we actually incentivize our students to learn. And these can be anybody who may have a college degree to folks that may not even have a high school degree in our feed mill operations. And we incentivize to them to do this. Every time they pass one of these classes, they get $1,000, which is an extremely impactful monetary figure for those folks. But the feedback we get is that, hey, we're learning, we appreciate the investment that you're making in us, and we feel like we're doing a better job. And for those of you that want to enroll, the class starts today, so I expect you to all be there. So switching gears on the values, now we want to look through simplicity, and definitely simplicity, I will tell you, is one that I struggle with the most. As a nutritionist and in tech service, we can struggle. Some of the vets are smiling already this morning, like, yep, Kyle, you're exactly right. But simplicity for us is being practical and focusing on what's important and adopting a hands-on approach, not making things difficult to be applied. But simplicity doesn't always mean easy. It just means that we're going to take a practical approach to that. So a couple of examples is we actually have 2 feed programs in our system based on genetics. And that was the simplest approach to get the right feed to the right pig at the right time. But it increased the complexity in the feed mill because we went from 8 diets to 16 diets as just an example. And across our business, we went from 120 to 165, which those of you, again, in the feed milling part of the business can definitely imagine what kind of comments that we got back from, is this the right decision? But also, it's communicating these complex ideas in a simple manner. So on the far right there, that's just a characterization of the feed intake curve for our pigs in our system. And we don't expect all of our field staff or producers or everyone to remember that on day 17, Matt, that our pigs are going to eat 1.1 pounds. But we turn this into an achievable goal that in the first 72 hours, we want our pigs to eat a half pound of feed. That's a real easy catchphrase kind of communication that makes a real complex kind of idea and turns it into a simple, achievable goal. We also look at simplicity through finding new solutions for old problems. So I talked and showed you a graph here a few slides ago about our % late deliveries. This is just one example of we wanted to have better transparency around what was going on in the field. With 21 feed mills and a couple hundred feed deliveries every day, it's hard for us to really kind of keep our thumb on how things are going and make sure that we're serving every pig appropriately. So 2 years ago, we put QR codes on 8,500 feed bins, and that allowed us to really get that information in real time, and that was a solution to an old problem that I think as an industry we've struggled with kind of since the beginning. And then also looking across the industries to spark ideas. So some of you may be aware that we've taken a pretty big step into the counting pigs thing, and that's an example of pulling different types of technology from other industries. So on the left, that's a camera that's counting the cars and the speed of cars on a highway, and that lets you know that it's going to take you 10 minutes to get from I-35 to 470 or et cetera. That's the premise for the technology around these counting pigs, and that's just one of the ways that we feel taking new technologies to help simplify solutions for some old problems. And then lastly is just the simplification of how we handle problems and how we solve issues and challenges. And we do that, number one, through trust. Dr. Turner's really instilled that value in all of us. He talked about the geography that we have. We don't have the ability to sit down at a table every day together, and so you have to have trust in your colleagues. So if Dr. Madsen or PJ or one of the veterinary team calls me and says, hey, we have a problem, I don't question that we have a problem. And we may certainly discuss what the source of that problem may be, but the trust is there, and you have to have that when you're going to work across party lines and definitely state lines. And we don't do it with a bureaucratic process. It's a very, very flat level of management, open door policy, if you will, but we are accountable to that. When people ask us what we put in the feeder every day, we don't put feed, we put accountability. And we feel good about that, but that is a huge thing that we take on when we do that. And we educate our team on this process, and then just lastly, we own the mistakes and failures. And so as you see, there's a couple of pictures on the right, and those are some OCD lesions. And so I'm sure the nutritionists are probably going to have me out back here in a minute, but this was a veterinary and nutritional challenge that we went through. And Darren and I got into the barn, we cut some pigs open, looked through it, and I applied some nutritional interventions to help reduce this problem. And so that's just one of those things that, hey, you have to own the mistake, that there were some things going on in those pigs that we needed to have an impact with, and we just didn't spend a lot of time discussing, really what the problem was. We really spent time discussing on how we were going to fix it. So that's kind of what I wanted to share this morning with you guys on the nutrition side, and I'm going to turn that over to Dr. Madsen to talk to you